Mark, the new season is upon us. Given the work that you've done in pre-season, the recruitment that you've achieved, how well set do you feel now going into that game away at Crawley?
Yeah, I think we're all encouraged. I think in terms of recruitment, the guys we've brought in have been integrated really quickly and feel they've added to the quality that we had last year, so we feel we're in a stronger position. And yeah, we hope that equates to a positive start. We've got a number of away games initially, which are obviously will challenge us early on in the season, but our away from last year was really good, so that shouldn't deter us in terms of our attitude to what we're trying to do in those games. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. I mean, a lot of excitement around the group at the moment, obviously, because new season and everything that goes with that. So yeah, can't wait to get started.
When we spoke last week, you mentioned how impressed you've been with how well they'd integrated the new players that have come in. Is there anything else that stood out to you this pre-season as this new squad has developed?
Well, I think we've got more flexibility. I think you've heard me say that before in terms of what I want to do or what I'm able to do before games kick off and during games as well. So that gives me more options. So that's encouraging from my point of view. So I'm pleased with the options that I have in terms of starting 11s or obviously things I have to do in games. Maybe if we need to change things around, I think I've got good options and good quality as well. It's important that we're still strong. That was one of our strengths last year, and I feel we're stronger than that than we were last year. So that's encouraging for everybody. So yeah, overall, we haven't started playing games of significance yet, so we'll soon find out if I'm right or not. But I'm encouraged by what I've seen. I see them every day, and I know what they're capable of. So once we get into the rhythm of the season and we get into the intensity of the games coming thick and fast, then we'll know exactly where we are. When
you contrast now to this time a year ago going into last season, obviously, as we've already outlined last week, high turnover of players coming in, whereas not so many because of the core group still being there. How much of a benefit is that to you as a side, that there's a very consistent core at the club now? Yeah, that's an obvious advantage to us, we feel, because a lot of the work that certainly in the initial period last year we did was about just doing the fundamentals and making guys understand what I wanted and what I expected of them. But a lot of that work's obviously been gone through with the lads that are still here, so that is becoming built into how they operate when they put a Bradford City shirt on. So we don't have to go through that process with as many this year. So that's the obvious benefit of it, because we're in a place where a lot of the work that we do and a lot of the scenarios we've pitched to them in the past become quite relevant and quite common to them, and they recognise them quicker than probably they did initially. So those situations in games will always raise their heads, and you've got to act accordingly. So if you've seen them before and you've talked about them at length before, then guys are ready and recognise them, those situations, and what to do in those situations. They recognise them more readily. So yeah, I'm pleased that's an advantage. It's certainly in terms of before and now, because clearly we've got a good group that has been through that process. And a lot of them will have experienced the disappointment of last season and how that didn't end in the way that you wanted it to. With that in mind, how much of a driving force is that for them as a playing group? Yeah, we had the disappointment of obviously losing the playoff, but as a whole they should look at it as a successful season, a season that we worked exceptionally hard to be successful in, and for the most part, apart from obviously falling at the final hurdle, the season was, by virtue of any metric you want to judge us on, we beat those that we'd been able to achieve in previous seasons. So on that basis, it was a good season. But the end game is always to get out the league, and we didn't quite manage that, obviously. So that's the challenge again, and we'll try and replicate. We'll try and be better in terms of everything that we're judged on, and if we do that again, then hopefully we'll go close again. How are you going into Saturday fitness-wise, players available to you?
Yeah, we've got a slight doubt on Sam Stubbs. He got a bang on his knee, on the outside of his knee against Rochdale, so he hasn't trained the last couple of days. So at the moment, he's probably our main doubt. Bobby Poynton was struggling with an issue with his groin, so he's missed a couple of days this week. Trained today, but we have to go easy with him. But apart from that, we're pretty much full quarter to pick from.
What's Verdane's situation?
Verdane's back. Obviously, he was away. Obviously, initially when I had the operation, but consultant's very happy with how it went. Still early in his recovery, but it's likely to be another 8 weeks or so minimum, I would imagine. But no, he's in a good place. Needed to be done, and hopefully when he gets back, he'll be with us for a sustained period.
And just a similar question on Harry Chapman's situation.
Yeah, similar. Harry's was on the grass this week, first time, so that's progress for him. Yeah, he's on track at this point, so he hasn't had any setbacks, touch wood, so yeah, so he's okay. And
final one, Kevin McDonald, available to you?
Yeah, Kevin hasn't had any game time, obviously, as you know, but he's been training with the group and doing full sessions for a week now. We'll see when I think he's ready to play a part, but maybe this weekend a little bit early, but we'll see on that. But it's good to see him out on the pitch. You see his quality very, very quickly in terms of his passing range and his technical ability on the ball. That's been really impressive for everybody. So yeah, we're excited by being able to introduce him into the group.
In terms of Crawley as opposition, what are you expecting from them as a side, and what do you want to see from your side going into that game?
Well, they've had a lot of personnel change, a lot of good experienced players that have gone out of their club. They brought in other players, and as we've just mentioned, it sometimes takes a little bit of time just to bed everybody in. So maybe they're still going through that process, but we've seen some of their games, and they want to get the ball down, they want to play, they want to pass out from the back, and we have to be ready for that. And a number of different formations they seem to be playing. What they'll actually nail down for the whole of the season, we're not quite sure, given that we're the first ones to go up against them. So probably be more evident further down the line. But so really, we're not concentrating too much on them. It's more about what we do and try and execute what we talk about before the game, really.
I mean, the answer to this next question probably goes without saying, but I'll ask it anyway. Just how important is it to get off to a good start this season?
Yeah, I mean, it just settles everybody down. Everybody wants to be positive right from the off. It's first game of the season is always exciting, and you want to build on that excitement of the first day if you can, and you do that by winning and playing well. So that's our intention. We'll go in with a really positive attitude, as we have done in all the games throughout pre-season. So we'll see where that takes us. But everybody's excited. We want to get off to a good start. That's really important for everybody.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually, with all the seasons that you've had as a player, with all the seasons that you've had as a manager, is the excitement and the buzz ahead of the new season just as...
Yeah, that doesn't go away. It's always there. The games are what really get me going. Training and pre-season's okay, and there's excitement to that part of it, and an understanding of the work that needs to be done. But for me, it's always about the game and getting a result at the weekend. So finally, all the pre-season games, they do matter, but not like a league game. So we're at that point now. We're just ready to kick off and get on with it.
Final point from me, and I apologise for bringing this up in the first press conference, but on the point of refereeing, we saw the statement that came through from the PGMOL along with the EFL about how referees are going to approach this season, particularly when it comes down to time added on. What's your reaction to the statement that they've put out and what they're hoping to bring into officiating this campaign?
Well, there is going to be a few marked changes in terms of their approach to certain things that we've taken for granted or been comfortable with, or sometimes uncomfortable with the way they've refed it. But we had the referee in today. We thought it was really important, more important this year than ever, just to clarify some of the more marked differences that obviously in terms of their interpretation and how they're going to referee certain situations in games is quite marked in terms of time added on, trying to obviously stop people playing free kicks quickly if you're standing in front of them, or you just make a nuisance of yourself, then that's a yellow card. There's differences on their interpretations of penalty situations, differences on offside, so it's going to be, I would imagine it'd be quite chaotic first couple of weeks. Let's hope it settles down, but I think even the referees have admitted that they think it'll be quite significant, and people will notice very, very quickly that there's a change in attitude in terms of how certain situations are refereed. So I hope they get it right. There's a balance there. Once everybody knows that certain situations are going to be refed in a certain way, then you need to get on with it and understand that. But that process from getting to the point we are now to where we need to be might be fraught with danger, maybe.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because I'm sure that hasn't been the first referee briefing that you've had ahead of a new season. In comparison, do you sense that this one is significant, that they will
usually those meetings take about half an hour and it's just a box ticking exercise. Well, the one we had today was an hour and a half, so that probably tells you how much information was imparted, how much clarification we needed.
Are you confident that those changes will...
I hope it works. It's done with the right intentions, and it's done to get more game time and more minutes with the ball on the pitch, which we've always advocated, because we feel that's detrimental when teams come to our place, or whenever we go up against teams. We had lots of examples last year where teams came with a game plan of time wasting, and we suffered on a number of occasions as a consequence of that. So you would like to think that it will help us and hinder other people, maybe.
Best luck for the season, Mark.
Thanks, mate.
You said you haven't played any games of any significance yet, but what can you take from the pre-season in terms of positives?
Oh yeah, I've seen things that I've been really encouraged by in terms of our movements, our threat, our patterns that we try and instigate really early if we can, so that we want those patterns of play to be strong in our play throughout this season. So to see them early on and being established, that's encouraging for me. Obviously new personnel, you want to see how they integrate. They've done that really well, and added to the quality, we feel. So yeah, listen, pre-season is a means to an end. It's to get fit, and it's to go through work that you've done with one group with the new group. But more often than not, it's once the season starts, that's where you get the real understanding of what's required, and what will need to be done in terms of our structure and how we want to approach games. That needs to come through very quickly in the games, but it takes league games to really install that, I think.
And one of the things that's been made about the refereeing changes is, of course, the added time. Mm-hmm. But another change to the game is the multi-ball situation. And you said last season about momentum, that's going to help you.
Yeah. I'm all for that. I haven't got a problem with that whatsoever. I think it's... I was surprised it didn't come in last year. It was in, I think, at Premier League level, and the EFL didn't follow that. But they deemed fit that they're going to do it this year. So don't really know what the problem was last year, but there you go. So we would like to think that would help us, because we're always of the view that we want to get the ball in quickly and get playing.
And though you've got the core of players and some new ones in, you've got players, particularly Manny Osadebe, who is almost a new signing but has that experience of being here last season.
Yeah, he's been in and around the group for a year now. So yeah, Manny is up to speed in terms of what we want, and yeah, you'll be looking to get good game time this year. He missed a huge chunk, as we know, from really significant injury, and the fact he's come back as strong as he has is credit to him in terms of his approach to his rehab, and we're delighted for him. So yeah, he'd be hoping to have a less traumatic beginning of the season, I'm sure, because it was hugely significant injury. It was a really difficult injury for everybody, not only Manny. Clearly Manny had to go through the process of getting fit again, but at the time I think it affected almost everyone connected with the club just because of the circumstances of it. So yeah, we're pleased that he's fit and well now and ready to go.
Cheers, good luck.
No problem, thanks man.
Mark, with the fact that you've sort of been here for a full season now before this pre-season, has that made things a bit easier at all? Obviously last year we come in, there was a lot of turnover, you've only been here for a few months, but you've had a year and a bit now to get to know all the workings of the club, get to know all the players. Has it made this pre-season like a joy, well, maybe not a joy, but certainly it'll be
it's been different just because obviously what it allows you to do, if you've got a group of players that understand where you're coming from, then you can push them forward and add more to what they already know, but alongside that you run it alongside what the other new players and new acquisitions need to get up to speed with, but that can be driven by the group itself, the players. It doesn't have to always come from me or the coaching staff. The players themselves recognise what they expect of their teammates, so they know what I expect, so when they see situations they manage it themselves rather than me having to shout and ball like I was last year from the sidelines, just because it was all new, so I've got the benefit of that.
And we've seen sort of you play sort of three at the back in pre-season. Obviously other teams have had success with it, like Wrexham and Coventry in the National League and Carlisle going up. Was it seeing other teams' success that helped persuade you to go that way, or was it the fact that you have sort of always wanted to sort of go that way for a while with the right personnel?
I've looked at it. I think it's a formation that can give you a decent flexibility. I did change to that during games, during the season. Don't think too many occasions I actually started games, probably because I didn't feel we had exactly the right personnel to do it. So I feel more comfortable with the options I've got this year. So that's part of the thinking behind it. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've always said that I'm not rigid to one way of playing. I always think the flexibility is important, because if you don't have that, then you restrict yourself to fewer options. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm not saying we will always play this way. If certain formations or position, those formations we go up against, and if I feel we're better served going a different way, then that's what I'll do, and you can change personnel with that or change shape. It's dependent on who you're playing, but for the most part, we'll try and impose what we want to do on opposition teams if we can. That's our end game. If we're struggling with that, then I'm not averse to changing things around, changing personnel and going a different way.
When you spoke to Simon last week, you sort of said that you were hoping to give Tyler Smith some minutes sort of behind closed doors for his tight hamstring. Has he been able to get those minutes? I know you were at a friendly midweek.
Well, we were going to take a bounce game at Rotherham behind closed doors. In the end, we decided against that because we had a few niggles after the game at the weekend, and we just felt it would be more controlled if we just had obviously an in-house game with the lads. We've got enough numbers to do that, so we did 20 minutes on Tuesday just to make sure that everybody had that game time and just that exposure to actual game minutes. It doesn't exactly replicate it, because obviously teammates will hold back in certain situations, because we don't want anybody getting too aggressive or following that injured because of a little bit too much enthusiasm, which can happen in games against other clubs. So we took that element out, but it was just more control. But yeah, he got a little bit of that, but Ken McDonald had two segments of that for good 40 minutes. So yeah, it was a good exercise. Pleased we did that.
Definitely, and with the likes of Tyler, and I spoke to Matt Derbyshire in the week as well, and obviously they'll be really keen to help out Andy on the goal scoring front. I suppose Alex Patterson will with the numbers he produced at Harrogate. I mean, for you, is that going to be a key thing to have more support on the goal scoring front for Andy this year? Because at times it was kind of Andy, and then if he didn't score, the team often struggled to score.
Yeah, I get that. I sometimes I look at obviously our goal scoring last year, and I think I'm right in saying we scored as many as Lane Orient did, so we're lacking goals. Predominantly they were scored by Andy, but that means that like he scored 30 odd in comparison to something like 12 the season before that. So that tells you the team itself is actually creating chances that Andy's having success converting. So it wasn't just Andy scoring the goals, we were creating stuff as a team, but clearly it was an exceptional season for Andy, and do we expect him to do it again? I won't back against him, but it may be that he doesn't quite get to the same total, but as a consequence of that, then you're right in saying we need other guys to step up and fill that void of goals that maybe Andy or the total Andy gets doesn't quite hit the heights of last year. So other people have got to step up and add to the tally, hopefully.
Yeah, just a couple more from me. Obviously, with the Rochdale game, it's been generally, I feel like, a really positive pre-season. Did that throw up more questions than answers, or were you fairly happy with it just being pre-season?
Well, it's always difficult on the one before the season starts, and we did okay up to a point, but I sensed there was a little bit of it was a game that we needed to get out of the way rather than one we were looking forward to, whereas that's going to be different this week. So I've seen that many times before in my career. It's just those games are difficult ones sometimes just to go through, and we did okay. We had plenty of shots. I thought we did all right first half. Second half was pretty much a non-event, didn't really happen for any of the teams. So I wasn't too perturbed by it. Place any significance on it. I've seen that many times in a fixture a week before the season starts. It just has that impact.
And you mentioned Bobby a bit earlier. There's a lot of excitement around Bobby Boyd, and another bit like Dylan Newby. You're really hopeful that you can get some of those young players minutes, if not immediately, at least during the season, and maybe not just in AFL trophy games or cup games or games in the league.
We'll see how they progress. They're doing really well. They're in the senior group on merit because we've seen the potential in them. For the most part, last year they were in on occasions when the numbers weren't quite right, and we'd always pick those guys to add to the senior group to make up the numbers. That's not what they're doing this time. They're very much part of the senior group, so they're exposed to obviously the work that we do on a daily basis rather than just dipping in, dipping out. So they're very much part of our plans, and if they continue to train well and opportunities present themselves, sometimes as young players you have to be patient because sometimes you have to have a significant level of a situation has to develop that allows you to have an opportunity as a young player. That's certainly how I got my opportunity. Somebody got ill the night before I was travelling as a 13th man, and I get a chance. I go on and score, and rest is history, I suppose. But when you do get the chance, it's important that you take it. So I've been pleased with what they've done in the pre-season games. Obviously, league games are different and more of a challenge, but I wouldn't back them against any of them. Harvey Rowe as well. I wouldn't back against any of them not having the confidence or the ability to make an impression.
Just the last one about the weekend as well. Obviously, Crawley, City have started the last few seasons with sort of 0-0 draws, but obviously it's not a bad thing. But how good would it be to sort of take 3 points away immediately and get off to that start?
Let's hope that's our aim. We don't want to sit back in games and see games out. Our intention is to go and be positive and create chances and hopefully take them. If we do that, we'll feel we'll have more chance of a good season. And as I said earlier, it's always important to start off in the right frame of mind and with the right results. And we have the capability of doing that without a doubt. We're a good group. I'm pleased with the group we've got. We've just got to go out on Saturdays, Tuesdays, and prove that. So challenges there for everyone.
Great stuff, Chapman.
No problem. All done. Oh.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Jim Conlon here. Jim Conlon here from RCB Radio Sport Ireland. It's a pleasure talking to you, Mark, again. I spoke to you there last year. Mark, I'm just sort of curious. You've 1 year under your belt now in terms of Leagues 2 football. You're facing into another season. How excited are you in terms of the campaign ahead? And do you think that you really sort of maybe learned a bit as well from the campaign last year?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, I'm sure I have. I was silly not to. I mean, you never know everything, so that was a new experience last year. Certainly, I think I mentioned to the guys in the room here a couple of weeks back about the experience of the playoffs. I didn't particularly enjoy that, if I'm honest. Certainly not the result at the end. That was something I hadn't experienced as a manager before, so I've got that knowledge. Ideally, we won't have to use it. We can go up straight rather than go through that process again. But yeah, it's a different league. It's a strong league, and the quality in the league is arguably higher this year. So we'll have to be really mindful of the challenge ahead of us. But we're ready for it. We're one of the better teams in this league. I feel we were last year, and we will be this year. So we've got to make sure that we prove that on a weekly basis.
And Mark, you mentioned that in terms of pushing for promotion, and obviously Bradford is a big club, it's a big history. I can remember when I was playing in the Premier League myself, and obviously you will look at the clubs and the stature, the sizes in League One, and you feel that that is probably where Bradford most deservedly belongs, but you probably know you have to earn your spot and you earn your crust to get there. So do you feel maybe that in terms of looking ahead towards the season, how important will it be that you're up there in terms of in the playoff positions come Christmas to give yourself that position where you can really charge come the tail end of the season?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to be in and around it all season, like we were last year. There was very few weeks where we weren't in the top half. So that's important again, just to keep everybody enthused by what we're trying to do. I think it's not a given that if you struggle in the first half of the season that you're not going to get anywhere near promotion places. I think if you look at Stockport, and maybe this is something that Wrexham will find. Certainly early part of the season, Stockport came up and they were viewed as a very good team, and they were. A lot of people felt that they would have a really strong push to get promotion, but initially they found the first half of the season difficult. So if you take my point, it's not always a given if you have a poor start that you can't still turn that round and make sure you finish with a successful season. So ideally you want to be arguably setting the pace if we can. I think why not? But a lot of teams will have something to say about that. But we've had the experience, the vast majority of the group last year are with us again, and they've had the experience of going week in, week out and having to bang results out, and for the most part we did that. So we're quite excited by what's ahead of us.
I suppose, Mark, I know promotion is a big thing for you and it's a big aim for Bradford City, but I'm sort of curious in terms of how you view the cup competitions, especially the League Cup for League One and League Two teams. Do you see that as a realistic chance for a team like Bradford to get silverware as well in terms of the season? How do you view that, or do you view it as a team going for promotion that it can be extra games, a bit of a distraction as well?
I'm not quite sure how we view going for silverware, but certainly we want to progress. It's something that is significant for us. If we can progress in cups, then obviously that's a financial gain that the club will gain from, and that's, we never budget for that, but anything that we gain from cup games obviously it all goes into the pot, and we can use it maybe further down the line, maybe come January, when maybe if we feel we're a little bit short in certain areas, then we can use that money that we've generated to go into the market again. So cup competitions are more about trying to progress, trying to financially gain from those progressions if we can. If we find ourselves in a semi-final or final, we might talk more about silverware maybe, but initially it's more about progressing and hopefully earning a little bit of corn to put in the pot.
Yeah, and you mentioned that corn there in the pot, and obviously in terms of League Two teams, you have massive connections in the game in terms of the loan market and being able to use your connections with clubs higher up the table, maybe to acquire one or two players. is there a trickle down effect though in terms of clubs in the Championship waiting to know if players are staying or going before they release one or two players for loan? Is it teams in League Two? Do you almost have to wait until the final few weeks or two for that transfer market in terms of a special loan talent? Say, for example, a Southampton might be one waiting to know if James Ward-Prowse stays or goes before they release maybe a young talent further down to the loan market. Is it a sort of decisive sort of period in time that you're waiting for maybe that domino effect to take place?
Yes. You pretty much answered the question. That's what happens. You have to be a little bit patient and wait for everybody to come back from their tours, and sometimes young players get taken on these tours just to fill the numbers in and allow them to obviously rotate the more senior players when they're trying to get minutes on the clock. So you have to be a little bit patient. We did the same last year. We were able to get like Scott Banks in, who did very well for us, but I think we'd already started the season when he joined us. So maybe the case again. We're hopeful of still going into the loan market if we can and bringing some more talent to help us. But it's not a given. We'll just see what's out there if we can.
And finally, for me, I suppose this is about Bradford City, but I cannot help to just touch with celebrities in charge of Wrexham. They're going to bring crowds and TV audiences from the States, and in terms of viewing and more attention and publicity is going to be on League Two maybe this year than previous sort of years as well, just due to that sort of fan base. Is that something that's good for the division in one sense, in terms of is all publicity good publicity in terms of maybe attracting more viewers, more interest in terms of League Two? Is that good for English football in one sense, or is it something do you pay little or heed or no attention to?
No, I think it's good for the league. The league pyramid, there's huge interest in obviously Premier League and to a lesser extent Championship. League One, I think arguably this year the League Two is on a par in terms of the interest given the clubs that's in and around. And if you look at possibly the top of League Two and the bottom of the teams you expect to be the bottom of League One, I don't think there's too much difference, and arguably we've got more high-profile teams than I haven't gone through the list, but I'm just surmising that given the ones that are in our league, we could well be more high-profile than the bottom half of League One. So that's how the league is going to shape up this year. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
Okay, Mark Hughes, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.